Yahweh Shemel Shai. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
The hardest walk leads to the greatest destination. And what's our destination, brothers? The kingdom, man. The arms of Yahweh Shai, man. The scriptures tell us in the Apocrypha, there's a day coming where Yahweh Shai will place crowns upon the heads of the brothers that maintained their faith in him, that believed in him. He shall place crowns upon their heads. Ezra saw that, man. Our great forefather Ezra saw that in the vision. We want to be part of that group, man. We want to be one of those individuals receiving that crown from Yahweh Shai. You know how great that is? I couldn't begin to possibly explain that in words. Words can't even explain the joy of that. Okay?
And when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away.
And what is our destiny? To be in this truth. To be in this truth and to make it to the end. As it is written, to finish the work, like Yahweh Shai said. I've finished the work, you know. The Apostle Paul said the same thing. Henceforth I know there's a crown of righteousness that is laid up for me. Okay, that is our destiny.
Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God, and if children, then heirs of God, and joint heirs with him. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hopefully got them pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right. And I want to go into a lesson, dealing with the serpent, lied about everything. All right. And, we first encounter, all right, the serpent, which we know, to be a man, all right, not an actual snake. Okay. But a man that was from the sons of the wicked, just as you have, the sons of God. Okay. When you go throughout the Bible, beginning with Adam, okay, well, you always had the sons of the wicked. Okay. And the serpent, is a representative. He's of that lineage of the sons of the wicked. All right. Which we know trickled down to Cain. And then eventually, all right, that spirit, was in Esau, which became the nation of Edom. Okay. And that's why these Edomites today, okay, they run the earth, all right, in the spirit of the serpent. Okay. Because the spirit of the serpent, let's get it. Okay. Let's go to Genesis 3:1. It says, now the serpent was more crafty, subtle, skilled in deceit. Okay. Skilled in deceit. Okay. And you go into the scriptures. Let's go here to Revelation. All right. Chapter 20. Okay. It says he was subtle, skilled in deceit. Well, let's go here. Revelation 20:7. Okay. Let's read this in the KJV. So this Revelation 20 and 7. Now this is prophecy dealing with the Renaissance. Okay, when the devils, when you go here, Revelation 20 and 7, and when the 1,000 years are expired, okay, the 1,000 years, what they call the dark ages, okay, or the middle ages, when Jake, okay, set the thrones of these different, monarchs, okay, and governments, in Europe, okay, in Russia, okay. And it says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loose out of his prison. Okay, and just talking about the physical demons. Satan, it's talking about his physical counterparts in the earth. Okay, the children of Satan, children of the wicked. Okay, just as we represent, the heavenly Father in the earth as the sons of God, well, they represent Satan in the earth. Okay, as the sons of the wicked, the children of the wicked man. Okay, and this devil was loose from his prison, over in the Caucasus Mountains. All right, the territory of Khazar. Okay, over there in Eastern Europe, and this devil, he was allowed, okay, to re-enter society and began to rule, okay, to take down certain strongholds, okay, to position himself, in places of power, okay, until he would dominate the earth, okay, and it says, and shall go out to what? To deceive the nations which are on the four quarters of the earth. So this same spirit that the serpent have of subtlety and deception is the same spirit that these devils rule the earth in today. Okay, and it says God and Magog, which is Russia, to gather them together to battle. All right, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. All right, because this deceptive rulership of Esau, Edom, will lead to a clash. All right, with Russia, which will be this third world war. Okay, so this is where we at. All right, right here at the brink of this third world war. Okay, because the devil, he's at the end of his reign. All right, but just to show you that, the spirit of the serpent, okay, it goes all the way back. All right, the spirit that's ruling the earth today is the spirit of the serpent that goes all the way back to the garden. Okay, now I want to go back to Genesis 3:1. Okay, and it says, let me go back to the ALP. And see, that's why Revelation 12:7 even speak about what? The old serpent. Okay. Now this is the book of Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more crafty, subtle, skilled in deceit than any living creature, all right, of the field which the Lord power had made. Okay. So he was more subtle, okay, than any okay heathen man. He was skilled in deception. All right, and that's why he's going to run their game on the woman. Okay, and the serpent said to the woman, can it really be that the Most High said, you shall not eat from any tree of the garden? Okay, and when you go into serpent, which we always get it, all right, and we know, the devil's kingdom, all right, Esau's kingdom is saturated, okay, with witchcraft, all right. So like, and you go into the word in the Hebrew and you get the root word, okay, for serpent, all right, which is nakash, all right, in the Hebrew, which means what? To practice divination, to divine, to observe signs, all right, to learn by experience, diligently observe, to practice fortune telling, to take as an omen, okay? So this is what the devil's rulership is saturated in, okay? Even when you go here, let's get this in Isaiah, okay? You go to Isaiah 47, okay? Um, Let me get to the point. It's Isaiah 47:9. It said, "But these two things shall come to you abruptly in one day." And this speaking to America, modern day Babylon, and the inhabitants of Babylon. Okay? They partake, and they're still enchanted by this beast system. It says on the loss of children, all right, and widowhood, they will come on you in full measure, in spite of your many claims of power through your sorceries, in spite of your great power, all right, of your enchantments. Okay, so we're living in a society that's ran by the enchantments and the sorceries of the serpent. Okay, so the philosophies, and okay, the conversation between Eve and the serpent, well, that's what's been revived in the earth. That's why you've seen, okay, the woman, okay, Eve enjoy particular perks within this society, because it's the society of the serpent, okay, and what we see happening, all right, because even when you go back here to Genesis, well, this whole thing was established to bring down Adam, okay, to disrupt, okay, the sons of God. It was never about, the serpent didn't have Eve's best interest in mind. Okay, but Adam did. Okay, going back to their righteous way. Okay, but the serpent, being more subtle, okay, he made Eve to believe that he had a way for her to transcend her current situation. Okay, and he brought that game back to Eve. All right, during the 60s, man. Okay, through the feminist and the women's liberation movement. Okay, so when you read on, and the woman said to the serpent, "We may eat from the trees of the garden, okay, except the fruit from the trees which is in the middle of the garden. The Most High said, you shall not eat from it nor touch it, otherwise you will die." Okay, and these trees represent, people. Okay, and the fruit represents doctrines. Okay, so Eve knew not to partake, okay, in the doctrines outside of the sons of God, outside of her own. Going back to Eve being a real by Adam, mean what, she was his close kin. Okay, she came from amongst, all right, that line. You see, so Eve knew the way, because what happened with Adam in the previous chapter? Because what was her order? You see, the serpent is coming to Eve with a promise that he has knowledge in a way that transcends her order under Adam. Okay, so this is to the KJV. So this is Genesis, okay, 2:7. Remember, all right, there was people already in the earth. Okay, the people was created in Genesis, okay, the first chapter. Okay, but of the people, okay, there was a particular man, all right, whom the Lord isolated with what Genesis 2:7 says, "And the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shah formed man of the dust of the ground, all right, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." Okay, so this was Adam, okay, the chosen man, all right, which we know this to be Yahweh Shah. You see, so of the men of the earth, okay, that was already placed in the earth, he isolated Adam, okay, and gave him what? The breath of life, their understanding, their way, okay, wisdom. He became a living soul. He was, all right, invigorated with wisdom and understanding. Okay, that's why he was able to name the animals. He was given all his wisdom, of everything, of life. You see, so Adam was given their way, all right, and he was given their way for what? For the purpose of rulership. Genesis 2:15 says, and the Lord spake, all right, it says, and the Lord power took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and keep it, which this will be, modern day Israel, Jerusalem, so because it's a garden, all right, in Eden, which Eden just means paradise, okay, but he was in, what would be considered Israel, Jerusalem. He was in that region of the earth, which is the center of the earth. And this is when the time when the earth was one big landmass. Okay. You see? So when you go here, let's get this word keep. Okay, because Adam was given his wisdom to do what? Okay. And when you go to the word keep, the dressing and keep it, which the Hebrew word is shamar. Okay, shamar, which was to keep, to observe, to give heed, to have charge of. Okay, so Adam was given a rulership. So he was given their breath, their wisdom for the purpose of rulership. All right, he said to keep, to guard, to keep watch and ward, to protect, to save life. Okay, because righteousness protects life. Righteous order protects life. We're seeing the opposite of righteous order, where this devil passed policies and has systems that, all right, projects death. This man has a empire of death. Okay, going back to the serpent. I want to say he lied about everything. Is he's gonna tell Eve, well, he shall not surely die. Well, see, Adam was given the breath of life, the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash, the understanding, the laws, the wisdom. Okay, to govern the earth in righteousness, man. Okay, which protects, all right, and for his life. You see, he was given order. Okay. So going on here, okay, is Adam, okay, is receiving, okay, their way. All right, what was he told? And the Lord power commanded them, saying, all right, and it's like in the Lord power commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou may freely eat. Okay, which is of the ways of righteousness. He was free to partake in righteousness. Okay. But the tree of knowledge, of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat it, for in that day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. All right. It will bring decay. It will bring in decay. Okay. It will sin, which is the wages of sin is death. Okay. So remember, this is before Eve, is given, okay, to Adam, okay, as a help. Okay. So Adam had their way. Okay. He was given authority before Eve came on the scene. Okay. So you go Genesis. Okay. 2. Okay. And let's go to Genesis 2:18. It says, and the Lord power said, it is not good, okay, that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet. So this goes into what the role designated for the woman was to help with Adam, to aid him, okay, in his life, which he was a ruler. Okay. So this whole thing of this gender war, that's off. Okay, because the Lord made, all right, man to serve him, and he made the man, the woman to serve the man. Okay, and the man serving the Lord was the woman's protection. Okay, it was her provision in the earth. Okay, so you go into help. All right, Azar in the Hebrew is to help, succor, one who helps. Okay, or aids. You see, so she was given, okay, to Adam, okay, to be a help. Okay, let's see this goes in. To support. Okay, to protect or aid. You see, what you mean, to aid. All right. So the woman, okay, was given the order. The Most High, all right, joined Adam, and Eve. Okay, it was a relationship where what the man was serving the Most High because he was given the breath and authority. Okay, to rule in righteousness, man. And the woman was added to him to be what and help. Okay, so you had this system set up. All right, and remember the serpent. All right, this this nigga in the garden, he's peeping this, because he's seeing this order, he's seeing, things, these systems. He's like, and we're gonna get to why he did what he did, why he approached, okay, Eve, with this lie. And it says, but the fruit of the tree, which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High have said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. So how did Eve know what to do? Because she was in order under Adam. Okay. So this is the serpent getting Eve to what? To rebel against their way. For the Most High doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open and ye shall be as gods, knowing good, okay, and evil. Okay. So what is he putting Eve on? Like, look, you finna transcend beyond that way. You're more than the help. Why you can't rule, why you can't have your options, why you can't be this, why you're more than that. You see? And that's why in Esau's kingdom today, the nigga woman can do any goddamn thing. Okay? She can be she can be in the military, she can be the police chief, she could be a judge, Supreme Court judge, okay, a referee. You see? An astronaut, she could do all this shit in Esau's kingdom. Okay, and being a wife, all right, not only did he make it optional, all right, but he made it to where it's degrading. Okay, and the order that she got from the Most High was degrading, was beneath her. All right, this is the game the serpent kicked. Okay, it says, for the Most High doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Okay, now to be a well-rounded judge, you should know, both sides. Okay, but it wasn't Eve's place, all right, to rebel against her husband. Okay, and she's not a judge. Okay, so the serpent, what did he do? He sprinkled lies within truth. He said, you shall not surely die. But then he said, look, when you know about good and evil, you're gonna be opened up. Which that was true. You see, and we had to go through it. So We understand these things in the spirit had to play out. Okay, we're just bringing the facts to it and showing you, you know, um, how these things play out today. And there's what we know better. We do better. Okay, and it says, and when a woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and to the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So Eve, okay, rebelled, all right, and she enjoyed, okay, a rebellion, okay. She enjoyed that rebellion, man, because it gave her. Because you look at the woman today, to be, because one of the things that's one of the hardest things for the woman to do, all right, is forfeit the authority given to her by the serpent, okay, and come under a man, you know, which that's a test that only a few women are going to pass in this go round, man. You know, to relinquish that authority given by, okay, the serpent. That's one of the that's the battle, for women. Because the serpent has made them the head of household, to where this system recognizes the woman as the head of household. Okay, the legal system is in her favor. Okay, the judicial system. Okay, the school system. Everything is in her favor. Okay, society, everything is in her favor. Okay, when it comes to her dealings with a man. Okay, the scriptures say, a woman, all right, shall surpass a man. Okay, she doesn't have to have a man's approval in anything. She's able to, make her own decisions, how she spends money, how she does this, what she wants. She's able to be a dictator over the children. Okay, so she has all these, perks under the serpent, and these privileges under the serpent. So she's like, damn, this is where it's at. And the majority of women, they love, okay, the privileges given to them by the serpent. Okay, so when you go into, okay, why the serpent? All right, because let's go here real quick to the chat, and I got a video I want to play. Okay, because now as the serpent has, got what he wanted. You see, from Eve, now he's finna treat Eve like a throwaway. Okay, now just real quick. All right, I just want to touch on this because we know, like I said, the woman was just given, a lot of perks. She was able to be an architecture of nigga culture. That's why everything caters to what? The woman, your mama, your auntie, your grandma, okay, or your woman, okay, because they was able to what? Architect the culture, to where their emotions, their feelings, and their interests are catered to amongst nigga culture, black culture, okay, and that authority was given to them by the serpent, okay. Now, I was looking at something in chat, and I got towards the end about, okay, what did the serpent want from Eve? Okay, because we, always go into the perks and the privileges, okay, that uh the woman, all right, Eve got from the serpent. Well, what did the serpent want in return? Okay, it said, but what would the serpent want? The serpent traditionally trades an agency, disruption, corruption and redefinition. Okay, so he wanted Eve to be a serpent. To be an agent for him. Okay, it says in a modern retelling, the serpent might want a human partner who can reshape the world from within, in the world of what? Israel. Okay, so she was weaponized. Okay, to reshape what? The tribes, man. And you look at Jake today, all right, it's a result of the serpent, okay, in Eve. And we got precepts to go into that. It says someone who will question systems, break taboos, okay, question systems of the two-parent household, okay, a woman just being a homemaker, okay. So the devil got Eve to rebel and question all systems of tradition, to break taboos. Okay, the alphabet community, who made that a culture amongst so-called black people. Okay, who feminized these men of today. Okay, this generation of alphabet today. What environment did they grow up in to make things that were once taboo a culture now? Okay, who played a part in the feminizing the majority of these supposed to be men? Okay, it says, or listen to this, or destabilize power structures, Okay, because remember, in the early 1900s, Jake had thriving communities everywhere in America. The Jake men were skilled, Jake women were skilled, two-parent households, the children had structure. Okay, and Jake was thriving even when Esau. See, the Great Depression didn't affect Jake. Jake was good. Jake had their own thing. Okay, segregation. Jake was good. Even that's a hoax. That whole that integration, like Jake was just kicking and scratching to be joined with Esau. Nah, man, Jake was well off segregated, man, and they had structure. Okay, there was many Black Wall Streets. Okay, Esau ran interstates through them or put them under the ground, but the death blow was feminism. That was the death blow to any type of structure amongst our people was feminism. That was the death blow. Okay, so this is the things that the serpent will want in return, and this is what he got. Okay, and it says, let's see. It says a conduit to spread new forms of knowledge or rebellion. A conduit to spread new forms of knowledge or rebellion, man. Okay, and you look at the wickedness of this society and who's at the forefront when it comes to abortions. Okay, when it comes to being a supporter of nigger culture, street culture, who's at the forefront, who cheerleads, okay, their culture more than anyone. Alphabet, who cheerleads their culture more than anyone. Okay, so Esau has turned Eve into what? An agent of rebellion, or most of them. Okay, it says a collaborator. Okay, it says a collaborator. Let me see. It says a collaborator who will help it evolve. Okay, with humanity. So Eve became a collaborator. okay, with this devil, all right, to push rebellion, okay, to break down traditional systems, okay, to repopulate with the worst, to multiply the worst of our people. Okay, it says Eve become the serpent bridge. Okay, let me see. I don't know why. It says Eve becomes the serpent bridge to the human world. Now we know she becomes the bridge to the tribes. All right, because a lot of pollution that Esau has pumped has been through Eve. Okay, into the tribes. Okay, just like he used Eve as a conduit, the serpent used Eve as a conduit. All right, to corrupt Adam. Where we're seeing on a mass scale how the woman, okay, has been used as a bridge, all right, to push the filth of Esau amongst Jacob, man. Okay, so Eve, was that middleman, all right, and that's why let's get this in the scriptures to prove it, okay, and it's just facts, man. You feel how you want to feel. This real, okay. You got a lot to pay for, bro. You know, yes, Jake gonna pay 2/3. Gonna be niggas and a nigga woman. Okay, being judged. Okay, but just like we can't, not talk about Esau when you talk about the wickedness of Jake, you can't not talk about Eve neither. Eve played a major part and is playing a major part to this day. You know, is being the gateway of wickedness because it be Eve that jump a lot of this. You know, this is oh yeah, let me go here. It's locked. This is Isaiah 3. And just to show, because Esau established a matriarch amongst the tribes. This is a legal matriarch. It's backed by a legal judicial system. Okay? It's not just no social construct. This is a legal matriarch that's backed up, okay, by enforcement of this system. Isaiah 3 and 12 is for my people. Children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy path. Okay, so children going back to Esau, Edom. Woe to thee, O land, when thy child, all right, when thy king is a child. Okay, so you have this child, Esau, Edom, that's in rulership, our oppressors, and he has set up what? The woman to rule over, okay, us in the captivity. That's why a lot of Jakes in double captivity. They in captivity to Esau, then they in captivity to the woman. That's why you see a lot of Jake man just defeated, all right, or just completely defeated out here, man. And that's why a lot of men don't even deal. They don't even get involved in that arena dealing with the nigga woman, man. All right, because it's a double loss. You already catch hell in this oppression under Esau, then to go put yourself in another captivity under most women. Okay, and so you see a lot of men, they just in a double captivity, miserable, defeated as hell, man. Okay, and it says, and women rule over them. Oh, my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err. Okay, so this current generation, this degenerate, destructive, dysfunctional generation, okay, of Jake, okay, is a product of the serpent and Eve, man. The brother Yawan said something the other day. All right, the brother down there in Dallas. All right, he said the main thing that most women have done is just raise the 2/3. I said, damn, it makes sense. The most thing that most women, all right, most women have done is just raise it 2/3. Okay. And this is why, the Lord just had, Eve just out here random. No structure, no order. But see, this all goes back to leaving the way. Okay, that was given to Adam. That structure that was given to Adam, that order was given to Adam. And the further you see that, the woman has strayed from that structure, the worse it is for everybody. You know, now it's a everybody problem. The further the woman has gotten away from that order. Okay, it's catastrophic now. You see? So I want to go here. I want to play this video. And like I say, I don't really, do a lot of videos dealing with, E. I pretty much said what, I'm gonna say dealing with that. I just don't even have any expectation for the American nigga woman. It is what it is at this point. We on something else. We building something else, man. That's of this world. But I want to play this, all right, because now it's okay. You seeing the serpent, which ultimately is the Lord. All right, got the spirit on the serpent to treat Eve like a throwaway. She enjoyed these privileges, and because see, she's done her job. She destroyed the. But what we have to understand, the general, like these podcasts trying to fix, Eve, it's a waste of time. They done this, that, 30 plus done. And the ones under 30, they're going to be worse. And then the ones 15, 14, okay, are going to be worse than them. See, Esau, he does these things in segments. He's already destroyed the next generation that's coming up. It's already gone. Okay, you got 5-year-olds singing Pound Town. That show you, okay, that everything that's living is done. Okay, it will only get worse. So these podcasts, we got some talking points from it. We got some certain things that you can add to your arsenal just to be hip on how the woman move and think. Okay, but it's to a point now. Hey, what are we talking about? Okay, because of the serpent has made the majority of women irreparable, man. Okay, and the only thing that they can be is a nightmare to you for the most part. And I love peace and productivity, man. And the nigga woman is the exact opposite of that. Remember, she was bred to be a disruptor. Okay, under the serpent. Okay, she was bred to be a disruptor. All right. So the only thing that you're gonna get for the most part, okay, is a disruptor or whatever you got going on, no matter how it start out. Okay, so let's play this. All right.
The November jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics released this week showing some staggering numbers in unemployment. The latest data finds that despite a job opportunity increase, nearly 700,000 women are still missing from the workforce. And for Black women, the unemployment has surged to roughly 7.5%, outpacing the broader workforce and sounding an alarm for the U.S. labor market.
So today is my first day being unemployed, and I got notice I was being laid off while on parental leave. Yeah. Coincidentally, the last day of my parental leave was also the last day of my employment, which was yesterday. And while I could say a lot about how I feel, I want to focus on a much broader issue, one that I am now a part of. Since February of this year, over 300,000 Black women have been pushed out of the workforce, and that is across corporate, federal, and nonprofit sectors.
Off today after 24 years. So that happened.
Do not get a consolidation loan until you see this. Mario Lopez here, and if you're thinking about getting a consolidation.
I got laid off from Amazon 2 weeks ago today. I received an email at like 5:48 a.m. in the morning saying, unfortunately, your role has been eliminated. And it was honestly just like the biggest shock and biggest wake-up call for myself.
I got laid off my corporate job. Yep. I've been working here 3 years and, you know,
People would say, listen, these aren't 700,000 women who are just missing or electing to leave the workforce. Most of them were fired or pushed out, right? Is that what you would say?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we've seen. So when we look at since the pandemic, 700,000 women overall are missing from the labor force. And in that same time frame, over 6 million women have actually become eligible to participate in the labor force. So reasonably, you would think that their labor force participation should increase, but that's not what we're seeing. And just since February, we've seen almost 100,000 men join the labor force. So you're really talking about not a personal choice, you're talking about structural exclusion.
So why are Black women, you think, being affected at this level? And do you think that it seems that they're being specifically targeted?
So today I woke up and, well, went to work, and I've been working from home for the last 5 years at this company, actually. We have had a lot of job cuts. I have been blessed enough to make it through a lot of them throughout the years based on performance and things of that nature. Or just, yeah, they've chosen to keep me or keep my team or whatever the case may be. But this time around, me and my department, majority of my department, I don't know if it's everyone, but it was a vast majority of us in that call that they decided they were going to let us go because pretty much the company's kind of going under. Like, I have been getting asked, like, how do I feel? How do I feel? I feel fine. I feel fine. I guess it's just because in the back of my mind, I already knew it was something that was coming. Whether it was going to happen next year, around April when I was planning to do it myself, but I knew that this chapter of my life was coming to an end. Like,
It's been 3 weeks since I've been laid off my 156K cybersecurity job, and let me tell you, I was not ready for this. I didn't post my update right away because I've honestly been very sad about it, and I'm the type of person that doesn't like change, mostly because I'm high-key a control freak, and I eventually adapt, but this one just hit different because that morning I went into work at 7 a.m. for a project call, and by 9:30 I was still to go to hell.
I was laid off yesterday to get ready with me when I have zero will to live. As if my 2025 cannot get any worse. I actually lost my job yesterday. It's actually not funny at all because I had the worst week ever. And I'm officially a statistic. I don't know how much I can say. They give vibes that they would. All I know is that the job market is trash. I'm screwed. Being single, unemployed, mentally unstable. It's not on my 2025 bingo card. I obviously have to look for a job. And I think the hardest part right now is like finding a job. I'm waiting to get into a dental hygiene program, so I'm actually just in limbo. I'm just a broke college student who's trying to build a better life for themselves.
Well, that's what, I can't speak to what exactly is happening in terms of being specifically targeted. What I can tell you is that the numbers are staggering. When we look at Black women, over 600,000 have been economically sidelined. One of the things that we look at is that if you compare it to white women, Black women's labor force is about 5 times smaller than white women. If white women had been economically sidelined at the same rate as Black women, we would be talking about over 3 million white women. That's the entire labor force of Pennsylvania. I mean, this impact is massive.
That is so striking, especially when you put it, that simply in terms of the size of the workforce for white women in the state of Pennsylvania. Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, she called the rising unemployment rates of Black women a canary in the coal mine, an economic indicator for everyone else. Why is that? What should anyone else glean from these numbers we're seeing?
Well, there's 2 things that are happening. One of the things that we know from the numbers is that because Black women sit at the intersection of gender and race, they tend to be the first impacted, but they really are the signal for the entire economy. And we have seen that. The other piece is that their labor force, it doesn't just impact the government. Their forced labor force exits this year alone have cost us $9.2 billion in GDP growth. So you're talking about impacts to Social Security, Medicare, the solvency of banks, the solvency of insurers. This will impact everybody.
So we are being kicked out of our apartment. Feels like it goes up and pay goes down or stays the same. And I've been doing this for years, and it's just gotten so hard, and I feel like I have failed my kids, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go, but they're going to go to their grandmother's. I don't know. I guess I'm going to sleep in my car until I figure out what I'm going to do, because I don't have money for a hotel or anything like that. I spent it all on the car parts. I think I'll have maybe like $25, to my name afterwards. So that's not enough for a room. So I'm not really sure. Hopefully my car is running tonight. Maybe I could just lay the seats back in there, and I could use my blankets or something and sleep in there. Obviously I don't know what I'm gonna do, to be honest. So there's that.
3 things I wish I would have known while being homeless. Number 1, always keep a car. If you keep a car, you technically have somewhere to stay, and you don't have to worry about sleeping on the streets. Number 2, never just go with anyone because they said that they're going to help you. I'm too trustworthy. And number 3, I'm still trusting in God. I'm going to continue to trust God because He's keeping me. So just follow this journey, because this journey is different from my first journey. Definitely different.
And following the serpent has Eve all over the place, man. You see, now we're seeing the results. Okay, the doctrine of the serpent. It was cute for a moment. The serpent gave you this illusion of power. That you were some type of superhero and you had it figured out, and men were holding you down. Men ain't shit. I can do it. Independent, this and that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? And it was all an illusion. Okay? Your power is directly linked to Esau's system. Okay? And that's why, when he decides to make certain move, you're affected in a major way. Okay? Because you destroyed the community. And so you have no system of community that you can lean on. Okay? You don't know any people with skills. Okay, you destroyed that. The only thing you mastered in this society is how to run and operate Esau's kingdom. Okay? So you have nothing to fall on. Okay, when this man snatches his privileges back, as he is snatching these privileges back, what are you seeing? More women going homeless, and then you're homeless, and then you have these multiple children, father in sight, because he incentivized you being reckless, but you just put yourself more and more in a vulnerable state by being reckless according to this nigga doctrine, and you just put yourself in more of a vulnerable state. Okay, and like I said, that was just to show, all right, that the women that trusted anybody that trusted in this nigga, okay, and women of the tribes, particularly the nigga woman, even in more particular, is finna suffer like no other, okay, because no one aided the serpent more than her, okay, when it came to destroying herself and her own people, okay. Now when this nigga pulled the rug, it's gonna be a hard fall. Okay, and I'm not one of the ones that can't wait to see you begging for men. I really wouldn't want to be involved in it. You know, if it was up to me, you see, I don't give a damn about the outcome of the nigga woman in America. Okay, because I know how counterproductive they are to anything. Okay, that's to anything, that's righteous. I know how counterproductive the nigga woman is to that. You know, so I know, like, I don't have any, expectations of, looking forward to, like, nah, man, I just can't wait to see what the Lord finna do in the earth overall, you know. But so let's go to Isaiah 32:9. It says, "Rise up, ye women who are carefree," and this is in the AMP, and a lot of women have been allowed to be carefree in this system because the system has so many safety nets, for a woman, especially a woman that look decent, so the woman can enjoy, all these perks and privileges, but doesn't have to, okay, deal with the responsibilities of a wife or have the skills of a wife. Okay, the devil has created a society where the woman can be carefree and still have, these privileges, okay, but not the responsibilities and the skill set of a wife. And it has created the most useless goddamn woman to ever exist. Okay, carefree, proud. You see, it said, "Rise up, you women who are carefree, and hear my voice. You confident and unsuspecting daughters, listen to what I'm saying." And they don't understand how bad it's going to be. And you can see those women, you can see how childish. And that's why they say, talking about, oh, hide your daughters from GMS. Man, ain't nobody studying your goddamn daughter, man. Okay, you see how these old motherfuckers and how childish they are. Okay, you see how childish the nigga woman, because she's allowed to be carefree. She doesn't have to be serious about anything. She hasn't had to be serious about anything in this society. Okay, dumb ass glasses and just weird, man. Like he's weird, man. Okay, and it reads, um it says, "In a little more than a year, you will tremble with anxiety, you unexpected and complacent women, for the vintage has ended and the harvest will not come." Because it's going to come a time when nothing is going to, the privileges that you're used to harvesting from the society, they're not going to come. Whether you're a career Eve, all right, or you a welfare queen Eve, or you in between, whatever you are. Okay, you're a hybrid. Whatever you are, all right, the privileges, okay, that were allotted to you in this kingdom, they're not gonna come. The Lord gonna make them stop. He gonna put the spirit on the devil to make it stop. And there's gonna be a time of suffering. You see, and the thing is, like I said, it's about you listening to the serpent, and that nigga lied, man. And that nigga's finna fail you in a major way. Okay? And it said, "Tremble, you women who are carefree. Tremble with fear, you complacent ones. Strip, undress, and wear sackcloth on your waist in grief." Okay? So this is what we're getting ready to see. Okay? These women finna be in a terrible position for trusting the serpent, man. Because the serpent is finna dispose of you. Okay? Because he done did the damage is done. Okay? You look at the leaders of Jake, the damage is done. They say NBA YoungBoy was like Michael Jackson. It's over. They say he's the next Michael Jackson. I said, what? Okay, which all them niggas wicked, from Michael Jackson on down to, any of them niggas, but it's like, huh? See? So the damage is done. The standards have been lowered, and they're going to constantly get lower. So it's in the trajectory of self-destruction. Jake is just in this trajectory of self-destruction. Okay, that's why the Lord, He's just going to intervene and speed these things up. But if this wasn't the end, and you look at if you was able to see niggas 20 years from now, the damage is done. The nigga woman not needed anymore. Okay, this generation is completely enchanted on another level. Okay, there's no more social engineering that really needs to be done. AI can be the mother now. You see, Alexa can take it from here. Okay, so yeah, that's the point. Just want to get into that. Lord will. You brothers. All right, and you few sisters edified. Till next time, I say Shalom. Koim Yasha Allah. Abba, soon Shalom.